Good. We are back in action with NASDAQ, and hey, it's looking great. It's looking great. As of today, price has moved over 400 pips. Over 400 pips. Keep in mind, we did break above the previous all-time highs over here. Previous all-time highs, we broke above 20,800, and we did that once we swept the liquidity here at these previous daily candle lows. Price came in and we swept these lows here, right? We swept these lows, and then after that, price flew straight from 20k all the way to, all-time highs, did its thing, and then we got a pullback, right? You want to buy low, sell high. So as price is pulling back, that's when we started to look for buys. And the reason why is because if you ever do want to buy in these markets and you want to make sure you're buying and have evidence that you should be buying, then it would behoove you to wait for a specific setup in the market that will give you some type of confirmation, which in my experience has been, this setup right here, which I'm sure you've seen many, many times, but you have some type of liquidity that's being built up, and we have buyers at the bottom, sellers at the top. All in all, this is retail traders buying within a range, and then the institutions come in, they sweep the lows, break above the highs. Once that happens, you want to go ahead and mark up the low that was swept, the wick, and you can also, mark up the high, the wick that we broke above, for the break of structure to continue the bullishness. And then once you see price come back down, you can do a buy limit here and allow price to give you the basic break of structure and retest, right? Break and retest. Or if price goes beneath the break and retest, then it may come even lower. And what you can do, you can always draw your Fibonacci from the lows to the highs, and then wait for price to come back to at least half off. You want 50% discount of this impulsive move. You can do that. Or if you want to get more technical, you can look for your imbalances and order blocks and starting points, or any other areas inside of here that you think price could react off of. Or, if you're like me, you do several, under leverage 0.01 entries all within here at those specific areas that I just named off, right? So when you look here at NASDAQ on the daily, we do have, again, some liquidity being built up. We have retail traders, support, resistance, and then eventually we do come and sweep these previous lows here, and then we immediately break these highs that causes us to break structure to the upside, which is essentially what happened here, right? We had the lows, swept, broke. That's essentially what happened here. And then price now pulled back pretty deep into the structure, filling in some of this imbalance and other things that are in here, and now we are proceeding to move higher. And if you want to get even more technical, we swept this liquidity as well, right? This was a previous weekly candle low. If I go to the weekly chart, this is the previous week. We look at the lows here, right? You mark up the wick, and typically if you're uptrending, price will sweep previous lows before we take off, right? We swept previous lows. This continues to happen quite often, right? Swept these lows, and you'll see it more and more on smaller time frames and whatnot and throughout it. But I look for the monthly, previous weekly, and previous daily lows and highs. As you see, we swept that and price flew over 400 pips today. And we actually caught that with the squad earlier this morning. Super solid, super solid. And then after we swept the previous weekly lows, we ended up breaking structure, aka previous highs, to the upside. That gave us further confirmation that price wants to continue in a bullish direction. And again, it's not, me saying this based off how I feel. It just comes off based off the evidence that's been presented in front of us, which keeps it pretty copacetic when it comes to trading. Going down to the smaller time frames as well, looking at this area, looking at this structure. Let me just remove all this so you don't get confused. Boom, boom, awesome. So as we see here, again, we swept this liquidity, we swept these lows, barely any drawdown, and then price has flown. And again, as we traveled in this upward direction, we broke structure 3 times at 3 major highs. We even got a nice retest here after we broke structure, retest, and then prices, if we're still holding, it's still 83 pips or $84 or 850 or 8,500, whatever lot size you use, that's how much you're up if you're still holding. And it's crazy because the reason why we are still holding is not just because we broke structure to the upside, but also price also gave us more confirmations as we traveled in an upward direction. So before, when I went over the buy setup, right, we actually see this more and more as price continues to make an uptrend. All this right here, you'll see it right now. Let me go ahead and show you. It looks better on the 1 minute. And this is what you want to do when you're in a trade, and maybe you've taken partials already and now you want to continue to hold or possibly swing or position, but you want to understand, like, should I hold it, should I sell it? What you want to do is go down to the smaller time frames that allows you to see structure properly and look for more setups. Again, this was the confirmation for me to keep holding once I saw we broke above these highs. We broke above these highs right here, and we continued to move forward. We broke above with the full body candle, retested, and continued. And as you see, that pattern continues as we progress. This was the first indication, and of course you can use any high. You can use this one here as well. This was another confirmation. We broke above these highs, retested multiple times, and as price continues, we eventually broke above these highs. All right, that was a confirmation. We broke, retested a few times, and continued. We met some resistance here at these next highs. Price gave us some more trouble, sold off slightly, but in doing so, it gave us more setups, right? We had liquidity being built up over and over and over, and then we came in, swept it, broke above, retested, played around, and continued, right? So when you see a buy setup happening right beneath a previous resistance, then more than likely it's about to get broken. If we saw a sell setup happening here right near previous resistance, okay, yeah, we can look for sells, but we didn't get that type of price action. We didn't get that structure, so that was more confirmation. We eventually broke above that. And then last but not least, this was the last high out of this structure here, right? Because again, this was the highest point that allowed us to break beneath these lows and even these lows, right? This swing high was so strong that we were able to break or sweep these lows. So this was a very significant high to break, right? So we broke above, retested a few times again, right? We broke above, boom, retest, flew up, came right back, same thing, retest, gone. And again, we've marked up these highs here. We are currently sitting right above these levels. Let me go ahead and mark that up, boom. And if you take a look, what's happening currently? Again, we have more liquidity being built up. We swept the lows, we broke above the highs, and we're trading above the highs, giving us, a solid indication that this wasn't just a liquidity sweep, because a liquidity sweep, it will just come above, leave a wick maybe, and then boom, continue to drop, but we're still trading up here, which signifies strong buying pressure. Price is still being held up, and you can even mark up these highs. We're trading above these as well. You can use this as your current setup. If you must get into the market, maybe you missed all the previous setups that I went over, it's no problem. You can also use this here, get in at the structure right there. Your stop loss would be, these lows. That's about $22 that you're going to be risking. You're going to be risking about $20, $22 to make, If you risk 20, you want to make 3 times that, right? So 3 times 20 is 60. So go ahead and put your 1 to 3 risk to reward right there, which just so happens to be back to the 20,800, another significant key level from before. But yeah, that's what's happening on Nas. And guys, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much more happening with crypto and gold and oil. Things are about to happen here. But this is so far. I just went over Nas. But if you did make it this far in the video and you want to see more, other charts, let me know. Let me know in the comments, and we can make it happen. But let's get it. Thanks for coming to the TED Talk.